what I saw in Antarctica.
The oceans, but space. And Antarctica was always on my bucket list. Been to all the other continents, and it's not something I would arrange myself, but I got a phone call from an organization called Future of Space. It's all into exploration, not only Earth's surface, the oceans, but space. And they're chartering a ship to Antarctica. Called me up. Said, Neil, you want to join us? I said, yeah. While my passage was paid for, I gave some talks, interacted with all the shipboard people. So, yeah, finally, on my bucket list, made the trip to Antarctica.
Hell yeah. I heard that there's pyramids in Antarctica. You know what? If it's a place that aliens are on Earth and hiding, it's either in our ocean or in Antarctica or both. Because there's no humans in Antarctica.
We're all gonna die. I wasn't the only person on board who served as part of the attraction for the seagoing visitors to Antarctica. We had William Shatner, all 93 years of him, still going strong. The only one among us who has boldly gone where no one has gone.
93-year-old in fucking Antarctica is insane.
Gone before.
I mean, like, that's... I mean, shit, I wouldn't wish any 93-year-old to go to Antarctica, but God bless him. I mean, shit.
He's quite a hoot. Scott Kelly, a shuttle-era astronaut, holds the American record for most number of days in space. I also went with my wife and my son, Travis.
Big kisses to the StarTalk team.
And he brought a friend, Kelly.
We are going to Ushuaia right now. We just came from Buenos Aires and we're on the plane.
And in fact, Travis never left his stateroom without a GoPro. And he captured so much of this trip.
Hell yeah.
Most of it is through his eyes.
Vlogging.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Travis.
And we're here today
At the port in Ushuaia.
in Argentina. Just recently landed. It is personally both our first times going to Antarctica.
And Argentina for that
And
matter.
Argentina, which by the way was like, whoa.
Still is like, whoa. You're in the southernmost city in the world right now.
Because it's fastest to get to Antarctica from here, we think.
I've been told, I didn't double check this, but I have no reason to doubt, that there's a town in Argentina, Ushuaia, which is the southernmost settlement in the world. What an ideal place to serve as a port
Holy shit.
of departure for Antarctica.
Bro, bro, it's crazy because, like, I probably know less than 1% of, like, the fucking Earth.
Ushuaia is a town, people go there.
Like, the names, I mean, like, I know, like, major names, but, like Lithuania, Estonia, you go, like, those type of ones, you start losing me.
I think it's near Patagonia. Forgive me as a geographically ignorant American. I didn't know that was a
Same
place.
here.
I just thought it was a brand. A beautiful coastal town, fully self-aware of its role in the world as a servant of explorers, as a last stop before Antarctica. I'm just a city kid, so like, what do I know about Drake's Passage? In the body of water between Ushuaia and the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, that is where the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean meet. I don't know if that alone would be sufficient to make it as choppy as it is, or whether there are other prevailing
What the fuck is the Bermuda Triangle?
climactic circumstances, but oh my gosh.
Jesus
you see the horizon
Christ. Bro, look how fast it's
Is?
moving.
Or whether there are other prevailing
Or is it sped up?
climactic circumstances, but oh my gosh.
It's probably sped up, but...
You see the horizon do this. And you say, well, why is the horizon doing that? No, the boat is doing that. And yeah, so I didn't do much eating during that time. In fact, plates would slide off of the tables. So there's a period of time there.
Bro, you know, like, you know, I'm no fucking genius, but like, wouldn't you think in the year of 2025 that cruise ships would have some sort of fucking technology that protects the fucking plates from falling off the thing, just in case of like, or just ships in general? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it did, yeah, I don't know, like, if it detects, like, freaking motion or some shit, like, it freaking puts up, like, a border or some shit over it or some shit. I don't fucking know. But, who am I, right?
Everybody's basically on lockdown to get through Drake's Passage. By the way, our ship is relatively modern. Just in the last 5 years, it's been put on the water. It made me wonder, the explorers from the 19th century, 18th century, when they hit storms, what would that be like? If that kind of turbulence was doing that to our modern ship, I can't imagine what it did to any of those ancient ships that sailed the open seas. The fun part was conversations that I was able to have with some of the other people who served as part of the attraction of the boat. We actually recorded a Star Talk live. My two guests for that were William Shatner and Scott Kelly. We love him. He's a twin, you may remember, and we've actually interviewed him before for Star Talk. He is just fun to hear his stories about spending as much time as he did in space, almost a year in space, real? In orbit, in the space station, the International Space Station. We talked about exploration and discovery, compared and contrasted people who came to Antarctica on the frontier of exploration of Earth's surface, and how the environment was so hostile to anything that they were accustomed to in Europe or anywhere else in the world, and what the challenges have been for going into space, particularly the earliest ones where there were a lot of uncertainties. And what kind of bravery did that take? What kind of audacity of mission did that take? William Shatner just loves thinking about exploration and what it means to our species, to humanity, to our goals, to what we are as humans.
We're here because of our curiosity. I want to see a leopard seal.
That was a fun conversation. I also had a separate conversation with Charlie Duke, who's been to the moon, 250,000 miles away. And we had that conversation by design on Christmas Eve, because on Christmas Eve, 1968, Apollo 8 was orbiting the moon. It was the first time astronauts were launched with a destination in mind. Destination Moon. Apollo 8. They're orbiting the moon, they come around the backside, and lo and behold, there's Earthrise. They took that famous picture of Earthrise over the lunar landscape that we all recognize. And on that Christmas Eve, with Earth in view in the distance, 250,000 miles distance, those three astronauts took turns reading the first 10 verses of Genesis.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
I guess when you're in space and you see Earth as no one had seen it before, it can do that to you. I wanted to discuss with Charlie Duke the meaning and significance of that reading and just what he felt about that and his life as an astronaut, one of the few who have been to the moon and back. You know who else was on board? Our Star Talk friend, Brian Greene. He was there with his wife and two kids, the only other sort of physicist on board. So I had a fun conversation with him, and we're just sort of geeking out on the science that's conducted at Antarctica. So Brian, is this your first time to Antarctica?
It is not.
Oh my God.
Where's the aliens at?
Second time.
Oh, you show it off now.
No, it's just it just means I got sick twice as often.
By the way, when you go to Antarctica, no matter the season, you got to be dressed for it. And we went in December, which was, quote, the height of their summer. The temperature bottomed out in the low 30s, you know, maybe -1 Celsius. It was typically more like 35 degrees.
Huh.
Based here in New York City, I was comparing temperatures.
The fact that it's above freezing is insane.
Typically colder in New York City over that time than it was in Antarctica.
That's
but regardless, when you're out for long periods of time, you don't want to be exposed to the cold temperatures for too long. It's just not healthy, particularly the very windy conditions. And so we each were given a big old yellow parka.
We're getting ready to see Elephant Island. All of us have multiple layers of clothes on. Thermals, pants, waterproof things. And we're gonna change into boots because we can't let our dirty shoes get into Antarctica.
Antarctica is an isolated, pristine place.
Bro,
And
if
so
I
they
had
were
shoes that like I wore to Antarctica, I would never throw away those shoes.
very careful about what clothing we were bringing on this voyage, the risk that we as passengers pose to harming the ecosystem of Antarctica with microbes, organisms, and other forms of bugs stowaway in the Velcro of our clothing.
So what did we just do here, Kelly?
So we're getting our outside clothes checked to see if there's any Velcro on them, because Velcro is one of the easiest ways to capture dirt and grass from Antarctica. And we want to make sure that we're not bringing back any kind of bacteria, any kind of plants, or living.
Well, isn't it the other way around?
It's both ways.
Huh. I mean, I guess that makes sense. You don't want to bring back like some freaking thing that like affects our country and it's from Antarctica. They have no idea what the fuck it is because it's from Antarctica. That was so beautiful. Oh, that shit looks so beautiful.
Front face. We're about to all touch a glacier, or part of a glacier. How are you feeling?
I'm extremely excited to hold Antarctica ice.
Whoa! It feels so.
Bro, look at that type.
Feels like a piece of art.
Look at that type of ice.
It's just ice.
Yeah, but it's artistically crafted ice.
Yes, it is.
Listen,
Like
man,
I
I
know
got
what
a
she
great question
means.
here.
It looks like
And that really
it's
just depends
artistic.
on the
It looks
area that you're in.
artistically
Close
crafted.
to the time when
That motherfucker just got 30 million years of bacteria on his fucking tongue. And like this is in an ice. I forgot the term, but like most of it's like under. Glacier. Oh well. Wow. The penguins just casual.
Another striking feature is the number of icebergs. Very big navigational challenge for the captain of the ship. These icebergs are huge. I was most impressed with what they call tabletop icebergs. These are flat-topped icebergs that are frozen ice sheets, basically, that broke off from their shelf and then are floating. So they don't have the craggy-looking tops that icebergs that cleave off of glaciers can attain.
Icebergs.
So perfectly smooth top. And I'm looking at one.
I'm faded.
Out my window, I'm on the 8th level of this ship. So that means there's 8 stories, 8 floors of icebergs sticking out of the water. Well, we all heard that 90% of ice is submerged, 10% is above. So that means that this floating iceberg is 72 stories below the water.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even fathom that.
Yeah,
I did go in a little submersible.
It's just insane.
Where are we off to?
The submarine. Oh, yeah.
And what are we gonna see?
I don't know. We're going to see stuff underwater. I want to see the bottom of an iceberg. Just to
Imagine
get
actually
final
falling
proof
in
that
that
90%
water.
of it lives there. But we could not get close enough to make that observation because they're highly unstable objects. They're slowly melting and they're always repositioning themselves. They'll tip, they'll tumble, they'll roll, always to maintain 90% of their volume beneath the water surface. So it's just dangerous. So
Yeah.
I never did
They're
see it.
unpredictable, and you can't. That's
I was
too big to do
saddened by
anything
that.
about it.
I mean, I believe it. I mean, I know physics, so I'm good with it, but it would have been more fun to document it. We're all gonna die.
You guys haven't eaten enough. You are too light. Therefore, I actually need to make the submarine a little bit heavier. So what I'm doing now, I'm venting the tanks. The submarine will actually start getting lower in the water until we get enough bite for the thrusters, and then it will push the submarine down. But we will always float, meaning that that's the first line of defense. We just simply float to the surface.
There's an experiment I wanted to do, and I made sure I did it. This cruise took place over Christmas, so there was no shortage of Santa hats. I made sure to take one with me on the submersible. Because you know what happens? As you descend, sunlight, which contains red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, sunlight starts getting filtered. And red light does not penetrate as deep into the water as blue light does. And so this Santa hat should get darker and darker and darker. And I think eventually it'll just look black.
Yeah.
So things start taking on a bluish hue. Very odd, very spooky even. And as I hold the Santa hat, told you, which is vibrant red as you'd expect any Santa hat to be, the color slowly fades. No red available in the sunlight to reflect off of the red hat so that I can see red. And we got to the bottom and there are these weird creatures. It looked very alien. One had, I don't know, it looked like a starfish except it had too many legs. There's like 15 legs. Starfish should have 5 legs. Sea stars, right? 5 legs. These had like 15. Like, what is that?
It's kind of like an eye.
It looked alien. Like I cut a hole in the ice sheets of Europa, Jupiter's moon, and I'm looking at life forms down there. That's what I felt like. And so, I don't know, is this life form found elsewhere? Unique to Antarctica? And by the way, the water is below freezing because it's salt water, and salt water freezes at a lower temperature than purified water.
Huh.
So that's another sort of interesting fact, that these creatures are perfectly happy under those conditions at the bottom of the ocean. And I said, okay, it's time to ascend back up. So we should see this in reverse. And I'm watching slowly. It happened very fast. Most of the depth that we submerged, there's no red light at all. Get up to a certain depth in the water, and then you begin to see some red come back. It's a striking phenomenon to watch that happen. A bit of optics. You know what else was cool? This ship is also a bit of an icebreaker. It's got a steel reinforced hull in the front. And what we were going to do was plow into one of the ice sheets in such a way that we get sort of wedged there and then step down and walk around on the ice sheets. This is frozen Arctic water. And so we tried that. So we plowed in and we broke up the ice a little bit, but we didn't get a nice nestly feel from it. We backed out, came back in again, and at that point, right at the tip of the bow, the front of the ship, the ice cracked. And then it kept cracking, and it kept cracking.
Look at the crack. Oh my gosh. Look at that crack.
Oh shit. Oh, that's
And it made a
insane.
crack a mile long all the way to the shore. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's
We
fucking
broke
insane.
the ice cap.
Broke the fucking ice.
People worried, well, now the penguins won't be able to migrate. Dude, penguins swim, okay? Penguins were just happy jumping in the water and back out on the other side. So that was an interesting phenomenon.
What the
We
fuck?
thought we'd done harm, but no, this happens. Ice breaks and refreezes all the time.
Dope you.
In Antarctica. Along the peninsula, there are a lot of islands. So of the several places we stopped, we made sure that on the itinerary, one of those places would be the continent rather than just one of the islands off on the peninsula.
Oh. Yeah, Antarctica looks like breathtaking.
What is the only bird that can swim but can't fly? Penguins, of course. By the way, they should rename Antarctica Penguin Land. Penguins everywhere, even on isolated ice floes. They swam there and then they swim back. There's bajillion of them, and they stank. That's worse than if you stink. You stank. And they're so clumsy. They're hilariously clumsy. They're like as high as my kneecap.
Yeah, the range of motion is like, they got like zero range per motion. They're just waddling everywhere.
Waddling around, tripping on each other. And I'm realizing, why are they so clumsy? This is embarrassing. What does nature have to say about this? And then I work here at a natural history museum, and I reminded myself, they're so clumsy because they have no land predators. That makes them cuter because they'll waddle up to you because they don't think you're going to harm them, and you're not. But if you have no land predators, you don't have to be nimble on the ground because nobody's chasing you. Nobody's ever chased you. I can bet you this, if there's a land predator that showed up, that natural selection would work fast and get the penguins that are not waddling, that are not tripping over their toes, and so that would be an interesting development.
Start sliding on the stomach.
Tree of life as a branch of evolution. What would nimble penguins look like? I've never seen so many penguins. And there are different kinds of penguins, but I'm human, and to me, they all just look like penguins. We never saw the emperor penguin. I'm told they live more inland, less on the coast. It was funny watching them to jump one after another into the water. And then they would chicken out. Can I use the expression chicken out when referring to penguins?
Penguin out.
That doesn't sound right. A fear factor would descend upon them. Like the penguin in front would say, no, I'm not going to do this. Turn around and walk the other way. Every other penguin in the line gives up on that option.
I guess we're going with Billy.
After the first penguin decides to not jump. I don't know how they're communicating. Are they spooked? Are they worried that there's like an orca in the water that could eat them, which they do? I don't know. But it was hilarious. The voyage took place like the last 10 days of December, basically. That encloses the solstice, the December solstice. And so we weren't far enough south for the sun to never set, but the sun didn't get very low below the horizon. It was like persistent twilight throughout the night. So it never really got dark.
But
to visit a place I've never been before, and there's nobody there, feels a little bit like you're the first ones to ever discover it.
Absolutely.
And I'm just reminded, first, how interdependent we all are on each other for our own survival.
Yes.
For the food chain, water supply, transportation. Whereas in Antarctica, there's countless penguins thriving there. They're functioning just fine, as they have been for millions of years. So I felt a little bit like an intruder in their space. They're just minding their own business, keeping their eggs warm. That was cute. Watching them warm their eggs. Watching them fight over the nests. That was kind of funny. We should rename Antarctica Penguin Land and Iceberg Way.
Well, he should have named the video What I Saw in Penguin Land.
That. And cool fact, Arctos means bear in Greek. So the Arctic means bear. Antarctic means no bear. So there are no bears in Antarctica. And almost all the world's free penguins,
polar bears,
live and thrive there. By the way, I also saw humpback whales and orcas. It's spooky to see the orcas swim in unison.
Was that like the North Pole?
One of our tour guides described that as analogous to a wolf pack. And I couldn't view the night sky because there was no night sky. It was eternal twilight before the sun came up. So there you have it. Bucket list checked off.
That big ass pigeon. Why is this shit abandoned? Is it people that try to get something going over there?
Thank you to Daniel and Tristan from Future of Space.
W video. I hope it doesn't get taken down or anything, but yeah. W fucking video for sure.